Get ready to crush it. Crush it.
Yeah.
This is the Crush It Podcast with Matt and Mason.
All right, we are back with another episode of the Crush It Podcast. Matt,
What's up?
you are my co-host, and it's good to be here with...
Good.
I'm the host, you're my co-host.
I am still the co-host.
And we're back. How was your week, dude?
It was good, man. It was good. How was yours?
Good. So we missed a week.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Which I'm not sure why, because we recorded something
Well,
for it and
we
you
did.
not released it. We've not had this conversation. It's funny that we're doing it on the episode.
So we'll air out our dirty laundry. Now,
Okay.
we talked about this episode may suck. I listened to it. It sucked.
Okay. All right.
And so
there we go.
It was not releasable, so
Okay.
we didn't release it.
So we didn't release it.
Yeah,
So
but stay
we're back
tuned
now.
because we did get a lot of cool content with Paul this weekend.
We did.
Fitness content. The at-home workout video is going to release this week. Fingers crossed.
Yep. A little conversation on the side.
Little side conversation,
we
little
recorded.
blooper reel thing.
Yeah, something.
So some cool stuff coming up that's not what we traditionally record. But anyways, we're back. And we're joined by a cool guest, Matt.
We have a guest, and I love anytime we have a guest via Zoom and we have a conversation, and it's just kind of awkward for them to sit there and just kind of watch and wait. It's one of my favorite things to do.
They're in the green room.
They're in the green room.
In the green
right?
room.
That's what we call that, in the green room. But no, it is fantastic to be joined by Mr. Gideon Honeycutt. Thanks for being with us this evening, man.
Yeah, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so kind of just a real quick background. I will say this, some of our listeners that know me growing up, were around Georgetown and all that, they'll at least know who Gideon is.
Okay. For better or for worse?
For at a very young age, his family were a part of the church.
Okay.
There where Dad pastored, and then as he got a little bit older, ended up going different directions, and it's kind of funny because, gosh, I don't know, for the last, I don't know how many years, it's just kind of been this friendship over Instagram, like not anything. Like we didn't hang out every Friday.
A general acknowledgement that you're both still alive.
Yes, like,
Okay.
hey, Gideon's still alive, Matt's still alive.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, and I'm going to throw this at you, Gideon. I've not mentioned this yet, but really, you've kind of become my go-to for movie reviews. I don't really have a whole lot of time to watch movies, so Gideon is a self-proclaimed movie expert, and he likes to rate movies, and I'll be honest with you, I've got to where, and I don't even know why, but I've got to where I put a lot of faith in your reviews, man. And so as you're putting these reviews out, I pay a lot of attention to them. Like, well, I mean, that got a C-. I'm not going to waste my time watching that movie.
Wow, I've been missing out.
Yeah, and
I've been watching crap for no particular reason.
You have.
at all.
When Gideon's been filtering through all that for
Okay.
me. So.
All right.
Yeah, spoiler, nothing with Will Ferrell ever gets more than a D.
Oh, see, that hurts a little bit.
I can appreciate that. He's definitely overrated.
Well, we won't get too deep in that because I'm quite the Will Ferrell fan. But yeah, just messaging back and forth on Instagram, different things. And I guess over the last probably year, maybe just messaging back and forth a little bit more and getting to know a little bit more about where Gideon was in his life. And I told him, this was very short notice, by the way, and again, thank you, Gideon, for being willing to jump on such short notice, but we had somebody else planned for this episode, and I told you I had him on the list for...
He's on the short list.
Yeah, he was on the list for, hey, potential guest, and typically we try to schedule out. So he was on the list, was going to reach out, contact him, and, maybe go about it in a more... a slower, more friendly pace, but basically last night I was just like, hey, I've been thinking about having you on the podcast. I need somebody tomorrow night. What are you doing? So I appreciate you being willing to jump on short notice with us, man.
Hey, a last resort is still a resort.
Well,
Hey.
I wouldn't say last resort. I mean, that's a good saying, though. Let's write that down. Let's release that on the Crush It page.
That'll be our next graphic.
Yeah. Real encouraging. But anyway, Gideon, what I'm going to do, we're just going to kind of jump right into it. Pretty exciting things going on in your life right now. Some moves that you have made personally, kind of maybe behind the scenes as far as a lot of people are concerned, but really making some moves that really fit into the crush it mindset and what we tell people to do. We're going to be talking about a passion project that you got going on and different things like that. So real quick, Gideon, I've just kind of been, my mouth's been falling down the stairs here for the last 3 minutes.
Yes, it has.
So let me throw it over to you. Tell us about Gideon. Who is Gideon? Let us in on it.
Oh, man. Well, as you've already said, a cinephile. That's the term that I prefer.
Okay.
Entrepreneur, I guess, though I never wanted to be. It's kind of the last thing I ever wanted to be. I guess we're going to talk about Valkyrie, which is one of the companies that I own, two companies. But I guess the crux of your question is probably more geared toward where I came from. And, grew up with you, actually, as you already talked about. I don't think we ever had three meaningful conversations in our lives when we were kids. And then I guess I grew up around Mason as well, though I don't think we ever met. I think we were just kind of in the vicinity of each other.
We were in the same building a lot. Yeah.
We were in the same building many times. Yeah, I was usually in the back row of that building. So, I grew up at Georgetown with Matt, grew up homeschooled. I think I went to the school there a couple of years, but was mostly homeschooled. Didn't have a whole lot of friends there. Wasn't my cup of tea once I got a little older and kind of went my own way. And I think probably we're going to talk about Valkyrie. That kind of started when I was about 10. So I guess the thing you need to know about me more than anything is that I have few passions, but what passions I do have are borderline on addictions. So movies, watching movies being one. Sometime last year when we were in the middle of COVID and I had way too much time on my hands, I kind of went through the catalog of all movies released each year, going back 100 years to see how many I had seen, and I ended up cataloging like 4,000 motion pictures that I had seen in my life, and I'm still in my 20s, so it's not like you might say that I have no life at all, really. So cinephile, love that stuff. I love reading books, things like that, and one of my earliest passions was watches, and I don't even specifically remember like a moment that it happened. I was just younger, and I started buying those cheap, like $8 Casios from Kmart, and the watch like calculator on it.
Oh yeah,
I
that was
remember
cool.
the Armatron.
Yeah, stuff like that. And I started slowly collecting watches. When I was younger, you won't remember this, but I would come to Georgetown with a different watch on every week, and I didn't. I just buy these bracelet watches from Kmart, and I couldn't afford to go take it to a jeweler to have it reduced. So I just had this watch dangling 3 inches off my wrist. Look, I was very thug. But I started collecting young, man, and as I got older, you kind of hit a point in your life where you're like, what the heck am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
And that for me happened in college. I went to university. I got a bachelor's degree. My undergrad is in economics. I studied economics and history. I minored in history. And I realized about halfway through my formal education that I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I had a plan, but it was like a half plan.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to study economics because I liked it, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with it after school. And I didn't really have any real thought of where I was going to go. And about my senior year of school, when things were kind of at a fever pitch, and I was trying to get my capstone undergrad research written, and everything was going crazy, I came across this video, and I don't remember the name of it now. It was on YouTube, but it was kind of a mini documentary on a watch company that I really liked and that I owned watches for. And at this time, I probably owned like 75 watches at this time in my life. And I like all watches. I'm kind of a watch slut, so to speak. I don't know if I can say that on here, but
you're good.
All right, so like I like high-end watches, I like low-end watches, I like expensive watches, I like cheap watches, mostly cheap. That's what I could afford through college. But I automatic watches, quartz watches, anything but a smartwatch. I don't care much for those. So
take this off real quick.
Yeah,
take
hide that real
take
quick.
that off. Anyway, so I just like watches, and I started thinking, wouldn't it be cool kind of start my own watch company? And when I say watch company, I'm not talking about like I buy wholesale watches and then just resell them at a markup. I'm talking about like designing the brand, putting it through manufacturing, finding a manufacturer, my own thing that I created. And at first it was kind of like a almost like a childlike dream that never think would happen.
Yeah.
Like when you're 8 and you get like Luke Skywalker lightsaber and you just run around the house slicing at things. I'm in my 20s and still do that. But
Absolutely.
but it was that kind of thing. It was like cool to kind of start with that thought and then follow it to potential outcomes. But it wasn't something I ever thought would happen. Because I didn't, so much, so overwhelming to think about. And after college, I took a job working full time in the other industry that I'm involved in, where I'm now in business in. And I got very serious immediately after graduation. This was 5 years ago, something like that, 4 years, 5 years ago now. And that's when I seriously started investigating. So this process from the time that I began investigating to the time that I had product to put on marketplace was about 4 years.
Okay.
But the actual idea was even earlier than that.
That's talk about that's pretty amazing, because actually before we get into that 4 year, I want to talk about that 4 year span and kind of that drive during those 4 years before, because a lot of people with entrepreneurship, a lot of people want something. They want something now. They want to have something that they can sell, that they can get to market, and it's about now. And if it don't happen in the next 2 weeks, if it don't happen in the next month, and they're not seeing profits from it, they're done. They're tapped out.
Right.
And that's why I think it's so important, this passion that you're talking about. This wasn't a short-term play. But before we dig into that, earlier you made the statement that being an entrepreneur is not something that you ever wanted to do. Something that we've talked about many times, Mason, is kind of the stigma of that word and how overused it is.
Yeah.
And everybody's just an entrepreneur. For somebody who maybe has a passion that they're wanting to follow, but they're really scared of that title, Gideon, what would you say kind of helped you overcome that to the point where you're like, you know what, I'm just going to do my thing, and I'm going to get past this term that I'm going to have thrown on me?
For me, it was probably less the term and more the concept. And I think that self-realization is kind of what put it into perspective. The reason I didn't want to be an entrepreneur or a business owner or kind of forge my own path is because of the plethora of responsibility, the things, the risks you have to take. I am not by nature a risky person at all. I don't slide into people's DMs when I was trying to find girls to go out with. I'm that guy. I'm scared to death of risk innately. And so I think for me, it was a slow process of asking myself, where am I in life, and where do I want to be?
Yeah.
The job that I took right out of college was great. I liked the job. I enjoyed it. I didn't want to be at the job for the next 50 years of my life. So I think that, in conjunction with kind of a growing desire to diversify my portfolio, is really where this came from. Because the passion was always there, the desire was always there. But I'm a very logical person. I can't think in terms of feeling. I have to think in, I'm an econ major. I have to think in terms of numbers, and things have to make sense.
Yeah.
It has to be logical. And I can't just accept an answer that's not logical. If you tell me something is true, I need to know why. And so for me, it was less about I have this passion, and it was more about how can I make this passion make sense.
Yeah.
How can I execute this in a way that is logical? And so it was slow steps for me. It was, okay, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to be a business owner. I don't want to take these risks. I don't want to have that responsibility. But and the asterisk is always with but. What if I just type, like, take a look?
Yeah.
Let me just start investigating. Let me take that small baby step. There's no harm in doing a little research on what it would cost to do this type of thing. There's no harm in doing some marketing research on what it would take to get a website up, what it would take to do some manufacturing, things like that. And it was kind of just one baby step at a time. And so I started broad. How do you start a business? Right. And I started there. And then I sort of started honing in. How do you start an e-commerce business?
Okay.
How do you find manufacturing? How do you do these things? And it was a really slow process. So there was never one point where it just clicked for me.
Okay.
It was a gradual process over years. And from the time that I started the research to the time that I actually made my first realistic contact toward setting up the company was about 24 months, about 2 years. And that's when I began looking for manufacturer, things like that. That process all took another 12 months from there. And at that point, I hadn't invested a dime. I just invested a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
And that's when it came time to pony up and write a big check.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had 3 years to think on it, and it was time to make a decision.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's a scary moment.
Yeah.
When he said to pony up, my insides cringed a little bit, because I definitely can relate to your personality on not being a risk taker. I could tell you were glancing at me when he said that, because I'm the same exact way, dude.
You were explaining
that's me.
Guy.
I'm like, could I check? No thanks. I don't want to do that. I want to have a fat savings account in case something ever happens, and not risk any of that. Like that's me. So it's undervalued, I think, how big a deal it was for you to, quote, pony up, like you said, and take that next step. So I'm interested, because I consider myself an analytical person like yourself. What was the tipping point where you had to step out of the boat and you said, okay, it makes more sense for me to cut this check and go to the next level than it does for me not to, and keep doing what I'm doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, like I alluded to, or I think I mentioned earlier, I am a big believer in having multiple streams of income.
Yes.
So I had to make this make sense economically, because that's the way my brain goes, as I said. And I had my day job, and that was making me some money, and I've got my stocks that I'm making some dividends on. But that was really the only thing that I had going at that particular point in time. And so I actually investigated a couple of avenues. The watch things was one, and that was my passion project. But I also spent no small degree of time investigating real estate, because I was like, okay, well, real estate seems like a really good opportunity for me to diversify my income. I'll get a couple of rental properties, I'll rent them out, things like that. And I was kind of looking at both options, and I probably will still get into real estate in the future. Because I do think it's a great option for people to kind of get a secondary source of income. For me, the economics of it made sense when I sort of merged it with my passion. So I know it kind of contradicts a little bit what I said earlier, but the fact that I really didn't care to go and fix a faucet, but I really wanted to design a watch.
Yeah.
Right. If I could make it fiscally make sense, then I'm going to veer to the side of my passion. And I don't think we even explicitly said it to the people listening, but I own a company called Valkyrie Watch Company. That's what we're all talking about here. I started a small startup company where I design and create my own lines of watches and sell them online. And that was kind of the tipping point. Fiscally, it made sense. Fiscally, it made sense to do real estate as well. And those were two options. And I chose to go more with my passion because I am useless when it comes to fixing faucets. And, I can't do that sort of stuff.
That's awesome, though. I love the fact that what you've been able to do is take something you're passionate about and bring it together with something that just made sense. Now, I know this has been a long process, and kind of getting to that point where you did stroke a check, you did get things rolling. Now it started off just you, but you have since made some pretty big moves to grow a little bit. Talk a little bit about that growth and at what point you decided to I think you've brought an assistant on or something, hired somebody to help with the e-commerce side. I know I'm getting you got a couple different things going on, may have mixed up the terminology there, but talk about that growth in the on the watch company.
Yeah, I mean, I am only, I have an assistant now. I'm only consistently paying I'm consistently paying 2 people at this point. I have hired multiple people to work on different facets of the company.
Right.
So yeah, there have been multiple employees, temporary employees, but only 2 that I would consider to be, more long-term employees at this point. But I think the biggest thing with this, and I quickly realized I realized early in the process that I'm kind of an idiot. And there are a lot of things that I
can relate. I've had that feeling. I've been there.
No doubt. Yeah. So, there are a lot of things you just can't do. Yeah. And then I realized quickly that the way this was going to go really bad was if I tried to do everything.
Yeah.
And I started. I kind of put my foot in that water a little bit, and I was quickly overwhelmed. Like I don't know anything about website design. Yeah. I don't know how to start a website. I don't know how to design it. I don't know how to put product on it. I don't know how to manage it. I could spend months on Skillshare or something like that, trying to learn how to do it, or I could just pay somebody who's going to be infinitely more efficient than I am, do it quicker, do it better, and can work with them on that. So, something like that, something like the logo design. One of my very good friends actually designed the logo for me because she's great with Photoshop and she's great with editing and things like that, and I am not. I was really only good for one part of this process. Actually, that was writing a check. Now that I think about it, there isn't
the most important part.
The most important part, but there isn't a whole lot with this. Like even the managing of orders that come through and stuff like that. I don't do that. I have someone that does that for me. So the moves, and I've also hired someone on my other company, which we're not really focusing on, but on that side of things. So the move for growth was not even necessarily predicated on necessity. It's not like the thing just got so big that I had no choice but to hire people. It was more of an envisioned growth, like an expansionary mindset toward achieving a goal as opposed to reactionary, where I already achieved a goal and now I have to catch up to get ahead of it. So even hiring someone is a risk.
Absolutely.
That you have to take. And who knows what's going to happen. So far, things have worked out really well. The website's getting a new paint job right now. It's not currently up, but it will be by the time this airs. Should you guys decide that the content of this podcast is worthy of airing?
It'll be worthy. I can feel it.
ValkyrieWatches.com for anybody who's listening. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We'll post that in the show notes as well.
Absolutely. We'll put that in there.
But it'll be up by the time this airs.
Awesome. I love that that proactive instead of reactive approach there, because that's scary in and of itself. So basically, what Gideon's done is he had a passion, he had a vision, did his due diligence, like. Sometimes guys like me like to just jump in head first, and I've paid the price on that many times, but took those calculated risks. And then once he jumped in, now he's looking ahead and he's hiring somebody, like he said, not out of necessity, but out of, hey, if I can bring them on, they can help me get to my goal quicker than I can. It's important to surround yourself with the right people.
It is, yeah. And I also want to highlight another thing that I picked up on what you just said, Gideon, is you said that you really haven't done much other than sign checks, which tangibly maybe it appears that way, but strategically it's not true. And I tell this to people on my staff when they come to me and say, what we want, I'm interested in moving up in the company. What's some advice? What would what's the best? And my biggest piece of advice is have some common sense, because it's so rare. And like you're like, okay, fluff, but I'm serious. It's so rare for people that will stop, think through something.
Yep.
Put a plan on paper, strategically plan to execute that, like to have that common sense to be able to do what you did, Gideon, and think through what is it going to cost to hire somebody? What are the skill set they're going to bring? Does me paying them outweigh the time that I would have to spend to learn and do this myself?
That in and of itself is so powerful.
Yeah, that's powerful. And those are the what is it? You have to have A and B students because somebody has to work for the C and D students, right?
Yes.
Like it's true. The common sense is so rare, and people get so focused on even just the tangible skill that they lose the big picture.
Yeah.
Being able to oversee a project, being able to plan and think through a project. And a lot of people miss that. It's obviously a big part into being a entrepreneur.
Right.
Or owning your own business or coming up with an idea and putting it into reality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's exciting, man. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It's awesome.
It really
it's awesome.
is.
And especially, because honestly, I had no clue, and then as we get to talking and just from some stories on Instagram and stuff, it's exciting because, here we are. We're three dudes from Western North Carolina, where we all grew up, which that's where you still live in that area, correct, Gideon?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So, we're all kind of from the same area there. And to see another dude that I grew up with making moves, winning, getting some things done, crushing it.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. And that's really what made me want to bring you on and kind of share your story, Gideon. Because, kind of the background of the Crush It podcast is, our motto is give yourself permission to succeed. And I think a lot of people in the South, kind of the South, where we grew up, success is frowned upon. People, think that if you have any level of success, you probably sold your soul to the devil. And so seeing somebody who's like, hey, no, that's I'm going to do what's good for me. We're going to make some moves. It's exciting, man. So I appreciate, and I think your story is going to resonate not just with people from that area, but also, I do feel like a lot of times the guests we have on, because they're a little bit more in your face, kind of have the same mindset I do, which is just go, 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 go. So, having a guest on who does like to slow down like you do, take the time, calculate. If it don't make sense, we're not doing it. I think it's so powerful.
It's all in the plan. The plan is, and I'm not speaking as though I'm like I've made it and I'm this great success story. This is still in its infancy, like we talked about. There's plenty of room to fly and plenty of room to fall. But it's all about the plan. That's where everything is. People, some people go to college and have no idea what they're going to do. I went to university and I would meet people all the time that were in like their second year at a university taking out student loans and decided to pick a major.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Why are you spending the money?
You shouldn't be here. Yeah. It's like I know people that are infinitely successful that honestly, I kind of think college is overrated just between me and you, but you probably know that.
And our listeners now.
The match between all of us. And I was glad to go, but if college is like on your plan, if it's like a part of your plan, then it's great and it makes sense and you should do it. If it's not, some of the most successful people I know never went to college and they're infinitely more intelligent than I am. So it's not where the plan takes you so much as do you have one.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, that's a great mindset to have. And I want to end it with this, Gideon, because your mindset undoubtedly has played a big part into you working through some of your raising, and that obviously, I know how we all grew up and that change in mindset and focusing on success and the things we've been talking about through this whole episode obviously is an evolution of your mindset. I'm interested to know what you do, truly interested to know what you do to position your mindset into the way that it needs to be and how you keep it regulated. Because I know for me, and I feel like I relate to a lot of things you've talked about regarding your analytical mind and all of that. I know for me, it's a struggle to keep my mindset regulated, especially when you're managing a lot of personal financial things, diversifying portfolios and filing LLCs and bringing on employees. All that stuff is shiny and sounds like big business, big boy moves, but it's also really stressful, because you start taking responsibility for other people's paychecks and the food that they put in their mouths. And you start taking responsibility for, in my case, a family and kids and a house and land and a life that you've built. And eventually that stuff starts weighing on you. What do you do, Gideon, to keep yourself in check and regulate that mindset?
Well, I try. So this kind of goes back to when I was a lot younger. Matt kind of joked about it before we talked, but I grew up kind of a small guy, and I was bullied a lot growing up. Bullied at school where we went. Some guy gave me a pink belly one time. What a jerk!
Let's just move on. So quick note: when we were messaging the other night, he told me this. I don't remember it. What's sad is I don't know if I can dispute this.
You can't. I wasn't there, and you 100% did it.
But I'm like, why in the world? I told him, I was like, I'd beat the crap out of my kids for something like that. And honestly, if Dad knew about it, he probably would have too. But again, I'm sorry because what the crap?
Well, no, but I should be thanking you because I joke about it. I really do joke about it.
Gosh.
But you weren't like the biggest bully there, I promise. But
wasn't the biggest one.
You know what I mean.
I know. Gosh.
In all seriousness, so growing up, I was just small guy. Everybody towered over me. My dad's 5'8", my mom is 4'10". The fact that I made it to be my dad's height is a miracle in and of itself, and you might read about it in the Apostles one day. It's just a thing. So I was always the small guy, and got bullied a little bit, and got bullied. Didn't have a lot of friends growing up. And I remember when I was 18, I weighed 120 pounds. That was what I weighed when I was 18. And the day I turned 21, I weighed about 185. And that process kind of happened with me deciding that I want to get in better shape. I started to do some MMA and stuff like that. I was working out a lot, started eating better, things like that. And that was kind of the catalyst for that. Was sort of my childhood of not having a lot of friends and kind of being bullied a little bit and getting pink bellies in the locker room after basketball practice and all that stuff that kind of spurred me into that desire to kind of better myself. I'm being facetious with you, Matt. But
for real,
I deserve it though. Keep
so that was something that kind of came out of that, and it's something that's kind of stuck with me as I've gotten older. I think that the best investment you can make is in your own body. Yeah. That's money comes and goes, businesses come and go. You come and go once. Yeah. So I think making an investment in yourself. So to tie it into the question, I work out every day in some fashion. It doesn't have to be going to the gym, though I do. It can be jogging around the apartment complex that I live in. It could be going for a hike. I actually hate hiking. I don't know why I said that. I don't go to hikes.
But you could. Somebody could, in theory.
Somebody could theoretically go on a hike. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Weirdos. Anyway, I taking care of yourself. I work out at least once a day, and I eat a very strict diet that I try to adhere to. Those two things are kind of the most important thing going on for me to kind of help my mind. It doesn't sound like it's a mind thing. It sounds like it's a body thing, but it's really a mind thing. I feel better. I'm sharper when I'm eating well and not just eating cheeseburgers every night, and when I'm being active. Yeah. And so I try to do that. Obviously, I feel like I'm hitting just like the obvious stuff. Get plenty of sleep. Try to sleep 6 to 8 hours, somewhere right in there. I hear some people say, you got to be up at like 4 a.m. if you want to be successful. I think the principle there is to be up and doing something at a time and not being bothered. So sometimes I'm up at 4 a.m. Sometimes I'm having to work late and I'm up until midnight or 1 a.m. And on those days, I don't wake up at 4 a.m. the next morning. But nobody bothers you after, 10 o'clock anyway. So the point is that I'm getting that alone time. I also set aside an hour a day to read. A book, doesn't matter what. Sometimes it's a Christian theology book. Sometimes it's a self-help book. Rarely is it a self-help book, but sometimes. More often it's history, which I'm enamored with, and I love history, or like fantasy or something like that. I read Lord of the Rings like twice a year. Okay. Something like that to wind down. So those would be the big ones, I would say. Find some time during the day where you can be alone and thinking to yourself, rest, eat well, drink a lot of water, obviously, be active. And I think find that thing, for me it's reading, but find that thing that calms you down and puts you in a state of mind where you're able to relax without relaxing, if that makes sense.
Well, you joke about, you said that you feel like you're hitting all the obvious things, and those are things you hear a lot about, but it just goes back to prove that it's just facts. It really is.
And people hear it so much they get numb to it.
Yeah, it may not be easy, but it is fairly simple.
And Paul would echo everything he just said.
Absolutely.
Fitness, how close fitness is tied to your mindset and your mental health.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely true.
It's good.
Yeah. So Gideon, this was awesome, dude. I really enjoyed the conversation. Interested to talk more, maybe off air, and get to know you a little bit better, because I definitely feel like we had some stuff in common. So I do appreciate you taking some time and hanging out with us.
Especially late notice
on a podcast.
I appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah, I also want to hear a little bit more about how crappy of a person Matt was in his younger days.
We'll just write a book. We will write a book.
Yeah, it's a self-help book. Do it.
Terrible. Terrible. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. For those who are maybe just finding us, it's your first time listening to us, Mason, where can they find us?
Yes, check us out on thecrushitteam.com. We've got a lot of new stuff coming up with the podcast network. We've got some new merchandise that's on there right now. La Jolla sunglasses have a new home on the Crush It merch shop. Also, our guest here has his own company where he sells some premium watches. Can you drop that URL for us again, man?
Yeah, it's valkyrewatches.com. It's VALKYRE.
Okay, so we'll flash that up on the screen. We'll also put the URL in the show notes. So if you're interested in checking that out, give him a little love. Go check out the website. Get a watch from him. These are awesome. I'm going to drop the smartwatch and just...
I think you need to.
Invest in myself.
With a new
watch. So again, crushitteam.com. Check it out. Subscribe to the newsletter to get the updates on the new stuff coming out.
New stuff coming out. And until next week, crush it.